It's the 10th and penultimate event of the second season of A1GP World Cup of Motorsport here at Shanghai at this fantastic facility, the Shanghai International Circuit. The second time we've been here, but it's a slightly shorter version of the circuit than we've seen in the past. There's been a drama in the pit lane for New Zealand, bit of a worry for them. Let's get back down to the grid and hear the latest from David Sears.
David, the boys have been working flat out. Is it going to hold?
I think so, yeah. I think a couple of studs decided to shear off on the outlap there, and we've drilled one of them out and got another bolt in there, and we've wire locked the other one in. I think it'll hold for an hour and a half.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It is scary, though, to have drilled out one of the bolts and having to lock wire the other one in. That shows it's difficult.
Yes, it is. It's very, very difficult access around that part of the race car. Really, you need to take all the rear suspension off. This is a great race car, and it'll be a huge disappointment to Johnny Reid and New Zealand if they can't finish.
Well, let's hope those boys have sorted it out. This is always a team affair, of course, and that crew has certainly worked hard. So let's take a look now at how they line up for the start of the feature race. It is Great Britain on pole for a feature race for the first time ever, courtesy of their first sprint victory. Robbie Kerr doing the job earlier on today. But New Zealand look fast in race trim, and Germany always a threat with Switzerland there as well on the second row. Then it's USA and Malaysia. Malaysia keen to score points. India and South Africa on row 4. India looking for their best result of the season. Netherlands and Italy on row number 5. And then it's China, host nation, on row 6 with Ireland looking to further make up places. Indonesia and Brazil on row 7. Mexico and Australia on the 8th row of the grid. Then the Czech Republic and Lebanon on row 9. Portugal and Pakistan on row 10. And then the two cars that had a coming together in the sprint race. There was no action taken, by the way, to either. That it was seen as a racing incident, but very unfortunate that we lost both Canada and France, and they therefore start right at the back of the grid. All the cars are on the grid, I'm glad to say, John, so looks as though everybody should be able to get away. There's the man on pole. So we'll see just how he manages. Of course, he's got a standing start to cope with this time, but you do have the stagger to the grid.
Yes, you do, and he's on the clean part of the racetrack. He's got the best opportunity to get into turn 1 ahead of the rest of the field. And of course, New Zealand carrying effectively what will be, in sporting terms, an injury to their car. That's something that Johnny Reid will have on the back of his mind all the way through the 40-lap race. Robbie Kerr, of course, on the other hand, has got that knowledge as well, and he can have a little bit more comfort in the thought that New Zealand may be running slightly injured. On the other hand, Team GBR at the end of the 10-lap sprint race did have a fairly heavily worn left front tyre, and of course everybody else in the pit lane were aware of that. So it's a bit of contra one way and the other, strengths and weaknesses all the way through the front of the grid in particular.
So is China going to be able to move up? 11th place on the grid. That's only one position outside a potential point-scoring finish, and that would certainly, I think, be a real boost for Team China once again. They've had some good results, particularly that third place in Australia. But it's almost time to get this feature race underway.
Jin Chang, Director General of the Ministry of Sport, to say a few special words.
接下来有请国家体育总局汽车摩托车运动管理中心主任严建昌先生宣布引擎启动。
先生们，为了国家的荣誉，请你们发动引擎。Gentlemen, for the pride of your nation, start your engines.
Now the signal is given, and both in Chinese and in English. And we've got the engines firing up below us, our vantage point, John, commentary position in the top of that grandstand. So we've got a good view looking down over the grid, and of course of those all-important pit stops that you were talking about.
Yes, I think the pit stops are going to be, I mean, they're always key, but I think the pressure at the front of the grid in particular, with Great Britain in pole position, New Zealand second, Germany third, Switzerland and then Team USA, is going to be a very, very close race. No one has shown any distinct overall advantage, but of course one little slip in the pit lane will just dissipate any of that advantage that you may have enjoyed.
We've got a bit more brightness, I'm glad to say, here this afternoon than we had this morning. Still, we've got a rather grey cloud overhead, but temperatures have climbed up. We're in the low 20s degrees, and fairly comfortable conditions for us, and more comfortable for the drivers than some of the recent races, that's for sure. Away we go then on the formation lap. Bit of a practice start for all the guys to see how the car gets away, and Great Britain and New Zealand making full use of that. Let's just check that everybody gets away. I can look down from my vantage point. Yep, I can tell you they have all moved away cleanly.
Yes, a lot of rubber being left by the cars that are on the right-hand side of the racetrack as they sit the left-hand, as you see in the picture, because they want to make sure that is the dirtier side of the racetrack, that they've got something that when they complete this lap they can drive over, place the rear tyres over those black lines and try and get the best traction off the standing start. It's always a sort of a bit of a hit and miss as to whether you can make the perfect standing start. It is a skill. Robbie Kerr best placed on the left-hand side on TV, right-hand side of the track for him. And the run down into turn one, Robbie Kerr managed to dominate that run in the sprint race. Slightly different circumstances for the feature race.
That's right, he's got to get it off the line effectively. Now remember, there's a couple of things at stake here, not just a victory for Great Britain or perhaps for New Zealand or Germany, all three perfectly capable of it, but Germany could wrap up the title in this race, and all they actually need is a 9th placed finish. 2 points would be sufficient for Germany to wrap it up. New Zealand could still score as many points in them in theory, but they wouldn't have as many victories as Team Germany. So if it came to a tiebreaker, Germany would then win it on number of wins this year, and New Zealand couldn't win as many even if they win all the remaining races. We're on board with Team Germany, so is Nico Hülkenberg going to wrap it up for them today?
I think it's going to be very difficult for him not to seal up that championship. All he has to do is maintain position. If he finishes third, then really it's a job done, and an excellent job by Nico Hülkenberg. On the other hand, because they've got such an advantage, he may well decide, well, why not go out in the way you should win a championship? That's winning it by winning the event. But of course that will put maybe him into risk, because it is such a close field at the front of the field.
It is, and it's going to be very interesting to see whether he can achieve it. Of course, he took double wins in New Zealand, Australia and in South Africa. By that I mean he won both the sprint and the feature races. Now that is what Robbie Kerr is aiming to do here today. He's already won the sprint race. Can he do the double? Remember, the prize money's at stake, because you only get prize money for the feature race. $300,000 at stake if Robbie Kerr can win this one and back up victory in the feature race by Oliver Jarvis last time out in Mexico.
But the key for Great Britain is going to be looking after the left front tyre, because the way that Team GB set the car up, they're running a little bit less front wing, and there was graining on that left tyre, whereas Team New Zealand's car has got a more neutral setup, and their tyres were sweet as a nut.
Yeah, they looked good after that sprint race. Chris Gaughan on the right, John Sears on the left there for Team New Zealand. They have been working so hard this weekend, but they've got the extra nervousness of knowing whether that gearbox is going to hold up. They've tried to make effective repairs as quickly as possible, but they're going to be so anxious about that, let alone the actual race result. In position, just about everybody. China slightly out of its box. Hopefully that won't cause a problem. And everybody else now in position. Last few cars, I can see Portugal is still just rolling into position. Canada and France are in place now, as we're all set for 40 laps of the Shanghai International Circuit, the penultimate event of A1GP World Cup of Motorsport. We're here in China for the second time in the season, waiting for those lights. And is Robbie Kerr going to get off the line when they go out? Let's see what happens. Away we go. And it's a good start from Kerr. It is a good start from Great Britain. New Zealand into second. Germany coming down to the inside, protecting third place. Behind there's a little bit of a battle. USA got away well. India trying to make up places, but remarkable. Oh, we've got problems at the back.
Yes, contact again. South Africa getting tagged by India. So two separate incidents in turn one coming into turn two. But it was a perfect start for South Africa coming down the grass, but a perfect start for Team GBR and Robbie Kerr, with New Zealand behind. More bodywork contact, and that was near the front of the field.
It was, so we'll have to try and check that out. But Great Britain got away well, as you say. New Zealand and Germany followed. USA gained a place up to 4. Switzerland lost one down to 5th place. Malaysia's also lost a place. They're down to 7th position. Italy started well, got back ahead of the Netherlands.
And Ireland up to 10th place, halfway around the opening lap.
Great effort from Richard Lyon, so he's managed to pick his way through that first corner. But we gather the safety car is going to be coming out. There's debris on the track. They want to clear that away, and the safety car will therefore pick up the field as they come past the start-finish line. And Robbie Kerr, he's got the lead position. He can now hold on to it, but they'll all have to slow down.
Indeed they will, but of course that contact in the early part of turn one, and then later around coming into turn two, and there was bodywork somewhere on the exit of 3 going up to turn 4.
Remember, they can still race until they get to the line here, so there could be potential changes as we come down to the hairpin. Great Britain still leading.
But there is a waved yellow flag coming down, so they will be required to essentially fall fall back into the positions that they were on the main straight. But it is chaotic, I think, is the only way I can describe how they're coming down through turns 12 now, out of turn 14, where they will pick up the safety car on the main pit straight.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Indonesia was battling with Australia. I think he's actually dropped back behind Australia again because of that yellow flag, so hopefully he won't get into trouble. They are picked up by the safety car. We do have an early incident here. Very clean first race, the sprint race, we had no problems. It's always tricky, though, to get the whole field around here. Mexico's still stuck there, I'm afraid.
Well, it's going to take a minute or two. The engine clearly may have stalled, and of course, if the car's in gear, he hasn't realised that he's got a select switch, and there's the South Africa car coming in. Alan van der Merwe, the whole nose and wing assembly has been trashed. That can be replaced very quickly by Team South Africa, but nonetheless it means he'll go back out onto the racetrack, and he's certainly going to go back out at the very tail end of the field. Hopefully he will get out before the snake of cars makes its way around, and hopefully he will not go a lap down. There the engineers get to work, lift the car up to put the jack underneath it. Now they've got to unbolt 4 bolts to get that nose assembly removed, to get a new one on, and taking the opportunity to change a set of tyres at the same time in case there was any damage, particularly to that right front.
Yeah, good idea, but of course they will still have to make a tyre change later in the race, because you're not allowed to make your stop for tyres until at least lap 8 has been completed. But with the safety car out there is opportunity to join the back of the queue. He has not lost a lap, so at least he's still got an opportunity here of picking up some places in the race.
Well, if you think all the way back to Indonesia over a year ago, Sean McIntosh started from the pit lane and he ended up winning the race. But let's look at the light squad. Robbie Kerr makes an absolutely perfect start. Johnny Reid comes over to step up behind him, and Nico Hülkenberg for Germany goes from left to right and blocks the progress of Switzerland and the USA.
Now let's see. Oh, it was about 3. Mexico, Australia,
I think that was Brazil as well. Victor Vera got involved, and then suddenly there's South Africa spinning, contact with Narain Karthikeyan, and that was nothing to do with Karthikeyan. That was just South Africa losing it, then snapping back into the path of the Indian car.
That's a worry for the Indian team. They'll have seen those pictures and realised it got quite a whack on that outer side pod.
Yes, and of course that side pod houses the water radiators and the oil radiators for the engine, so if there is going to be a problem, it'll make itself known pretty quickly on the Team India car. I think it's probably okay as the safety car once again picks up the field and continues around.
Yeah, at least another lap. The lights are still flashing, so they're not going to be released as yet. Robbie Kerr follows the safe, beautiful start, as you say, John. He absolutely got that perfectly right. That's 2 great starts he's made so far today, but this is a long race, and we know that this Black Beauty of New Zealand is going to be a real threat. As long as that gearbox problem that they had coming out of the pits is going to hold up and let him race. Let's hope that it's not going to cause a problem. Germany there in 3rd, and then as you can see, America in 4th, the United States in 4th, Switzerland in 5th place, India in 6th position, then Malaysia 7th. There was a good first lap from Italy, up to 8th place. Netherlands will be frustrated because Van der Zande had passed Italy in the sprint race, but he then got nipped by Italy at the start of this one. And then you've got Ireland, as you mentioned. That's a good getaway for Richard Lyons and for Team Ireland.
Yes, and he's certainly a very much happier boy this afternoon than he was throughout the weekend, and clearly the performance that they're getting out of the car now is really benefiting Team Ireland. They've had a miserable season in A1GP throughout the second series, and they're really desperate to get that problem resolved. So as when they go to Brands Hatch, they're bringing over 300 guests as part of their hospitality package for the final round at Brands Hatch, and they want to put on a show for those sponsors, potential sponsors, title sponsors, any sort of sponsor. Team Ireland are going to bring them to Brands Hatch.
Yeah, and just for the boys who worked so hard last night, I think they had all of about 3 hours sleep. To see their man move up 4 places on the opening lap here of the feature race, I think they're going to be very pleased about that. Yes, 2 places up from 12th position on the grid, so they'll be pleased. Let's hope he can give them something else to cheer about. Of course, 10th means a point. You get paid down to 10th place in the feature race. Get some prize money too, so they might be on a bonus. They'll be even more happy.
Well, they do not have terribly many points in the championship so far, so anything today, and looking forward to Brands Hatch and to the possibility of making up some of the disappointment that they faced throughout the series can only be good.
Safety car in this lap, as we're told, so you'll see the lights go out, the flashing lights that is, on the top of the car in just a moment, and then Great Britain, New Zealand and Germany will be released. A lot of weaving going on.
Yeah, they're trying to get that tyre temperature back up. They've been 2 laps now behind the safety car. Tyre temperatures drop, tyre pressures drop, and tyre pressures, as ever with a racing car, are absolutely critical to the performance of the car. Robbie Kerr now backs them all up, and of course once he comes onto the start-finish straight, He then gets the full advantage of being the lead car. He's going already. Johnny Reid's going with him, but nobody can pass until they cross the start-finish line.
So Robbie Kerr really going for it early. Are they on the power boost? Yes, Great Britain very wise to that, so is New Zealand. It's an opportunity, a restart of a race, and New Zealand's certainly got an excellent run here. Great Britain's going to have to protect the inside. New Zealand's going to go to the outside, but he can't quite make the move work. But he's tight to the corner. He's hoping Kerr runs wide, but Kerr's got it under control, and that's a good battle again at the restart.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first serious threat over the sprint race and now into the feature race, this restart after the safety car deployment. And Johnny Reid clearly feels he's got an advantage over Team GBR. He wants to make that advantage stick as early as possible. The long range run, look at that, a mistake from Robbie Kerr. He ran wide coming into turn 6 now, the run down into turn 7, so that was an error from Robbie Kerr. Pressure, and that's the result of the pressure from the pace of Team New Zealand in this early stage.
Oh, it's good stuff between these two nations, Great Britain and New Zealand, fighting it out on the restart. Germany's tucked in behind with USA right there too, and Jonathan Somerton looking more racy at the early part of this race than he did in the sprint. But you know, Australia's made up huge ground. Canada, they're trying to make up ground. Oh, it gets tight. I haven't mentioned Australia, John, because they're up to 11th, and they've also had a very good start to this race.
Yes, they did indeed, and that's the benefit of having a little bit of time between the sprint race and the feature race to look at the car and say, look, what are we doing wrong? Let's take a punt. That's all we can do, and they've obviously taken the right one.
Now what's going up? USA trying to get past Germany there. Germany having to defend.
And look at Ireland and Richard Ladd's contact.
Malaysia's off. Alex Young spins to the outside, and he was involved in a tussle himself with India.
And Ireland also in that battle with the Netherlands, they ran wide in the exit of the corner, but Alex Young desperate to have his car pushed backwards to enable him to get back into this race.
Canada and France together again on track. They hit each other in the sprint race. Now they're battling one another again. Germany still holding on to third, but Hulkenberg struggling a little bit in the early stages of this race. America looking very, very fast. Here comes Canada, trying to get down the inside of host nation China. Oh, that's a good move from Sean McIntosh.
Copybook overtaking manoeuvre from Canada, got in the right position of the racetrack. Frankie Cheng found himself on the outside of the corner, could do nothing about it. That all began on the exit of turn 14. A good run from Sean McIntosh, and he'll be delighted having had to start way down the field.
That's brought Canada up into 13th position from the back of the grid. What a great run that's been for him. That's Mexico. We saw him go right at the beginning. Poor old Sergio Perez, he's only 17, making his debut this weekend. But look how close the top two are. Great Britain versus New Zealand, and still Germany working hard to defend from the United States.
Well, I think the United States looking much stronger in this feature race than they did in the sprint race. They went back 2 places in 2 consecutive laps, but watch for the battle for the lead, because Johnny Reid is going to be right on the gearbox of Team GBR.
Australia up to 9th now because of problems ahead for others. Australia, who started in 16th place, Ian Dyke, is doing fantastically well for Team Australia. They're in a potential point scoring position. Long way to go as New Zealand gets close to the back of Great Britain once again. The rest of them filing through. There's Switzerland and India, but Ireland defending from Indonesia. Oh, remember these two cars clashed last year and one went over. Oh, it's tight between them.
Look after my car, please, Richard Lyons.
That's right, that's the car you've been using, John, and he just about got through there. Ananda Mikkola. Oh, we got safety. Have we got safety car again? I'm seeing the flashing up on our screens.
It may be being readied. It hasn't been deployed, but it may be on standby.
Somebody's in the gravel on the exit of turn 14. I don't know who that is, but somebody's off on the outside of the final corner, and maybe there's some debris or a car in a dangerous place. Look at this, Lebanon making a move on Portugal. Well done.
Again, round the outside.
Now, let's just see what's happening here. That was GB versus New Zealand, and Great Britain still with the advantage, just about, but we've got the safety car out.
So that's because a car on the exit of turn 14 has got itself beached in the gravel. There's the safety car. There's waved yellow flags around the field, so we expect Robbie Kerr and Johnny Reid now having to slow the pace down.
I'm just looking down from our vantage point. It's Mexico, which was the car, of course, that had that spin earlier, but for some reason it's now a different part of the track and in the gravel on the exit of turn 14.
So we never actually saw why that car went off. Was it contact with another car? It's sufficiently far off in the position it's standing. It may well have been a contact with another car.
Now Malaysia's running again. Did he lose a lap? I'm not sure that he did. He may still be on the lead lap here.
I think that he got out well before the safety car came round, but maybe he didn't get round to catch up to the end of the chain of cars as we go on board with New Zealand running down Main Straight. And again, watching Robbie Kerr ahead as all the cars are again trying to maintain the tyre temperature. It's not just the surface temperature, it's the core temperature. And they've yet to catch up to the safety car. Let's look and see. This is the Ireland move. This is a lap or two earlier, and that's what caused the incident with Malaysia. But Ireland pulled out, and then Render van der Zenger in the Netherlands got back under that car.
Looked to me as though that was just a mistake from Alex. Yeah, he just looked at the rears, didn't he?
That's what I was talking about in the sprint race. If you run the very low downforce, under braking at the end of the main straight particularly, the car is not as stable as those running more downforce, and this time it has actually caught out Alex Young.
That's going to hurt them. They desperately want to finish fourth in the series, but their main rival is France, and France is now up to 15th place, whereas Malaysia, of course, at the back. There is Sergio Perez, the young Mexican. It's certainly having a bit of a torrid debut. He's a pretty inexperienced driver compared to some. It's a good opportunity for him. Salvador Duran, of course, is the usual incumbent. I know they've been on the phone quite a lot to each other this weekend, but I think Perez's race, unfortunately, is over, so he's going to have to put this one down to experience, and it's because of that car and the gravel there that we've got the safety car out.
No, there's nobody attempting to remove that car to safety.
There is. I can just see there is a wagon on its way.
Well,
actually.
there it is. There's the car in the gravel. How Sergio Perez actually got it there, we're not quite clear, but he decided to vacate it pretty quickly. He walked back to the pits, and now we see the wagon coming to remove that car. It's going to be at least this lap and one more lap before we get this race back. We have two safety car deployments in the space of what we're on the 7th lap, so it's been a pretty busy time for safety car driver Scott Stringfellow.
Well, as you say, it is a busy time, and Robbie Kerr has got time to just reflect on a restart there, but he was under a lot of pressure. He perhaps may change his tactics for the next restart. We'll have to wait and see about that. Now, as we know, the Mexican Sergio Perez has been in the wars. Let's hear from him. He's with Lee McKenzie.
Sergio, just tell us what happened out there.
Well, it was showing me my display something about the fuel, so I thought it's the bomb fuel, same as happened in Mexico. It's a shame really that comes so far away and it happened, but it's motorsport and it can happen.
Bad luck, Sergio.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit difficult to follow quite what was that.
Well, I think it's something about fuel. I don't know whether maybe means fuel pressure. Something certainly caused the car suddenly to slow down. As you saw, cars following behind had to make a very abrupt move to the left, and Sergio Perez did the only thing available to him, which was to pull the car off as quickly as possible. It was in an unusual part of the off track there, the car now being removed to safety. So it maybe, he says fuel, maybe fuel pressure, maybe something he didn't fully understand from the pits. So out for Mexico, and a huge disappointment for Sergio Perez.
So top 10, let's just quickly recap. It's Great Britain leading from New Zealand, Germany, USA 4th, Switzerland 5th, India 6th, Italy 7th, Netherlands 8th, Australia 9th, and Ireland in 10th place. So of that top 10, it's certainly Australia that's made the most progress from their qualifying performance into, well, their sprint race finishing position, if you like, because he was 16th on the grid for this one, and he's now up to 9th. Just outside the top 10, then we've got Indonesia and the Czech Republic, Canada 13th, China now 14th. There you are looking at Frankie Cheng. France 15th, Lebanon 16th, Portugal 17th, then Brazil, South Africa, who had the front wing changed earlier on, they're 19th. Pakistan is 20th, and the final car is Malaysia, who has joined the back of the pack. Only with the one car out, of course, that is the Mexican car, as we heard from Sergio Perez.
So 33 laps to go, or 53 minutes and 50 seconds, depending which comes the sooner.
287.2 kilometres per hour. It's a pretty impressive top speed for the United States.
Yeah, well, they're getting a pretty good slipstream going down the straight. The wind direction and the volume of wind has changed, so we've seen the wind switch from one way on Friday back the opposite way on Saturday, and now it's maybe turning back again to give them an assistance down the main straight. And there the safety light being flashed, so it looks like the safety car will be coming in at the end of the 8th lap, as the Team GBR look on the pit wall and wondering, are they going to see another attack coming from Team New Zealand? We saw a great restart from Robbie Kerr, but it was anticipated by Team New Zealand and Johnny Reid, and I'm sure Johnny Reid's going to be right on the case when they come out of turn 12, because that's the point where Robbie Kerr really took advantage of his position on track.
Well, the safety car will be coming in again at the end of the lap, so we'll see if that is the same situation, whether Johnny Reid's going to keep that pressure on Robbie Kerr. I'm sure he will. And what about Germany? They were struggling a little bit, had to work quite hard to keep the United States behind, and that may well be the same again. But then Switzerland's in there too, And those three guys, Germany, USA and Switzerland, the three youngsters, have all raced against each other in the junior ranks, so they probably know each other well. Here we go. Safety car is heading into the pits. Everyone else bunching up as they come down to the hairpin. And it's restart time here in Shanghai. And Kerr this time maybe has a little bit more of a gap over Johnny Reid as they restart this race. Great Britain ahead of New Zealand.
Well, let's see if any of the top two are going to use power boost. They don't again. Reid slightly further behind, as you mentioned, coming down into turn one, not able to put a challenge onto Team GBR, and Germany drawing a little bit further away from Team USA in fourth place.
On board with Team New Zealand, you're running in second place. He's looking for that little error from Robbie Kerr. Kerr did make a slight mistake on that last restart, but he looks tidy here.
It was in turn 4 and 5. There's very sort of quick flick right, flick left, and that's where Robbie Kerr got it wrong. Offered up an opportunity for New Zealand. They weren't quite in position to take advantage of it, but it signalled the pressure coming from New Zealand.
On board with Germany now, running in third place, and he's staying with these top two this time. Seemed to drop away. I think he was so busy with America behind that he couldn't do much. Now he seems to be staying with those top two cars. Hulkenberg very close behind Johnny Reid now. So it's Great Britain, New Zealand, Germany, then the United States and Switzerland. No change on this restart. Netherlands having another look at Italy, not close enough. Then Australia, Ireland, Indonesia, Canada having a think about getting past the Czech Republic.
I think Canada was also keeping an eye on Frankie Cheng running behind him for China. A little bit of a bobble for Team Germany coming through turn 11 onto the main straight. Germany and USA using power boost. Germany preparing for a pit stop.
Yeah, well, 8 laps have been completed, so the pit window is now open, so anybody can make a stop if they wish to from this point in the race, and it looks as though, as you say, Germany are preparing to do that.
And New Zealand very late in the brakes, the car squirming around, trying to make sure that they don't overrun the corner and clip the back of Team GBR's car.
Who's coming into the pits? The race, no, not the race leader, but let's see if Germany comes in. In towards the pit lane, certainly 1 or 2 people coming in, but Great Britain continues to lead. Yeah, Germany goes for the early stop.
Yes, and I think Italy may have been one of those as well. It was a bluish looking car, so there it is. Italy comes in, and Ireland as well. So 3 of the top 10 cars are in at the end of 8 laps.
It's all going to come down to this kind of strategy and how good your pit stop is. Let's see Germany go to work. Can they put an effective stop? You are right there with one of the mechanics putting the wheel on with the helmet cam. Oh no, there's a little bit of a problem there, is there?
Left rear, yes.
Well, it didn't seem quite as slick as sometimes. Let's see how the overall time looks. Remember, their time from pit in to pit out. So that's what we're looking at. But we'll get a comparison with Italy and 1 or 2 others. Now, let's see what happened a moment ago. China went off down at the hairpin.
Yes, that was an error from Frankie Cheng, just in a bunch of 4 cars all fighting for track position. We did see that Sean McIntosh from Canada had been trying to get past once this race got underway for the 3rd time.
So all eyes on Team China's car from the point of view of the local fans. Did he have a major problem? Will he be okay? This is the gap first to second. You can see that Great Britain's eased it away a little bit as they've continued on around. Now we may see 1 or other of them coming into the pits on this lap. Let's wait and see what happens. Behind them in 3rd place, it's now the United States, courtesy of Germany's pit stop, and up to 4th now is Team Switzerland.
Yeah, and there was a bit of use of power boost from Team GBR in India, getting the back of the car chapping. There's the bodywork damage. In fact, substantial damage to the bodywork on that left-hand side, and Team GBR is in. So this will be the battle that will basically determine, in my view, who's going to be standing on the top of the podium and alongside in 2nd and 3rd.
Interestingly, New Zealand have stayed out. New Zealand leads the race, Great Britain in, but of course Germany has stopped. Where will Great Britain come out relative to Germany?
Well, it was approximately 33 seconds. We lost the tail end of the lap, or the time leaving the pit lane to go to that incident down at turn 12, so approximately 33 seconds from the point of coming into the pit lane to leaving it. So anything that Robbie Kerr and Team GBR does under that is to their advantage. But the reason New Zealand is staying out, I think, is to try and get as many quick laps as possible before they come in and make up ground that they felt they might have lost by running behind Team GBR.
There is Germany as Robbie Kerr makes his way down pit lane. Kerr is going to get out well ahead of Team Germany, so it was a slower stop for Team Germany and a good stop for Great Britain. 35.8 seconds, matched by Team India. Now this is a very interesting stage of the race because Germany's got clear air to chase Great Britain. New Zealand has not made it stop yet. A different strategy being employed by Team New Zealand this time.
But New Zealand has just recorded the fastest lap of the race to date, 37.602. Now that's what they need to do. They need to use the opportunity of having 3 or 4 laps clear air, let Johnny Reid do the job. That probably is the best overall car in the field. But look, Jonathan Somerton running behind him in Team USA. He's running within a few hundredths of a second in terms of lap time.
Another great drive from Jonathan Somerton, the youngster for Team USA, and the United States have real promise for the future. He's come good at this latter part of the season. He's only had a recent opportunity. You're riding on board now. This is with New Zealand. This is the pedal camera. We're looking at Johnny Reid's feet, left foot braking, so you'll see his left foot onto the brake, off the throttle, and this is going into the first corner.
But watch the way he comes back onto the throttle. He doesn't slam it open, it comes on and on smooth, progressive. He's off and on it because you're trying to really balance the car here on a mixture of brakes and throttle. It's a slow part of the racetrack. Turn 3, the corner they've just come out of, is the key, that part of the racetrack.
Yeah, lovely to watch how he goes onto the throttle, as you say, John. It's smooth, it's progressive, it doesn't jump on the throttle like we see some people doing. That's the way to be fast in a V8 powered A1GP car.
And the key to doing that is minimising the amount of pitch change between front and rear of the car, and let the tyre and the chassis do the work that they need to do.
And he's doing a fine job, but so is Jonathan Somerton behind in second place, and Switzerland not too far away in third.
Now just watch this throttle, the way it opens up. It doesn't slam open. He opens it marginally, then lets it close again, then he opens it back up again. And we've got Brazil in. It was a contact somewhere. That nose clearly has been damaged. That may have been part of the incident. There it was. That was part of the incident. That's a lap again. That was another incident because we see the China car going through the corner and contact with Brazil, Vitor Meira, and that allows Malaysia to get through.
So poor Vitor Meira making his debut for Team Brazil here this weekend, the IndyCar racer who's done very well in the IRL series in the States in recent years, but unfortunately for him. Now, just looking at the lap times, it's interesting to see that a new fastest lap has been set by Germany. Oh, there's suspension damage, John, on this car. They ain't going to get that one going
again. No, that's
again.
not going to be returned to the racetrack. So all over for Brazil, and Vitor Meira. Brazil very happy indeed with the job done by Vitor Meira in particular, but also their rookie driver Bia Figueiredo, who was in the car on Friday morning. Bia being, of course, the first, I think, lady driver to race or to compete in an event in A1GP.
Just looking at the times, there's very little difference, interestingly, between Germany, who's running around on those new tyres, and New Zealand, who leads the race and hasn't made a pit stop yet. It's only a tenth of a second or so. The tyres are holding up very well on this circuit. They don't seem to go off very quickly.
No, but again, the key to that, particularly in the case of New Zealand, that they can run at this pace, an eye on the lap of 13th lap, is that they've got a very, very good car balance. And going back to what they were speculating about Team GBR, that once they got beyond 10 laps with their particular car setup, they may end up with a left front that wasn't quite as strong as it would need to be to compete at the end of an event with New Zealand.
Great Britain matching pace with Germany. Remember, Great Britain came out ahead of Germany after their two respective pit stops, and actually Robbie Kerr pretty much matching the same pace that Nico Hülkenberg is doing. So those two guys still running very, very strongly, still a little gap between them. This is the race leader, though. It is New Zealand. New Zealand, of course, still with a very outside chance of challenging Germany for the A1 title, and they are ready for a pit stop.
Yes, I was going to say the lap time of New Zealand and the lap time of Team GBR are virtually neck and neck. So bring now New Zealand in, let them get in. They didn't get maybe as much of an advantage of running in clear air as they might have hoped. So come in sooner than later. Don't let it deteriorate. It'll again be all down to how quickly you can get in and out. Team GBR did it. We saw that clearly in a 35.8 second entry pit stop back out onto the racetrack. We never saw the full time for Germany because you had to break off to go back down to turn 12, but certainly it was slower than that of Team GBR. And Team GBR are currently running in 10th place with 3 seconds behind is Germany. This is going to be the pit stop to determine who will lead this race ultimately.
This is so crucial for Team New Zealand. They've got to get him back out. Now there are the other two, Great Britain and Germany, not much gap between them. That looked pretty fast. It's a good stop.
I think this is going to see New Zealand take the lead of this race. It'll only be by a couple of 3 seconds because there is New Zealand. No, it's not. It's going to be even closer than I feel. Team GBR coming down. Johnny Reid, is he going to get on the throttle? No, he's not going to make it. It has gone to the advantage back to Team GBR.
Great Britain takes the lead. New Zealand back into second place and Germany in third position, exactly as they started this race, just as it was before they all started making pit stops. So it's even Stevens from the point of view of the pit stops.
Indeed, we could see Team GBR coming down the pit straight. We could see Team New Zealand in the pit lane. That pit lane is one of the longest in any racetrack we were going to visit, and it seems to take an eternity at 40 kilometres per hour, 60 kilometres per hour, 40 miles per hour.
Oh, Robbie Kerr will be relieved at that. There's been occasions where he's been leading in the past and the pit stops have gone wrong for him, and sometimes that's been what's cost him a victory. This time the guys have done a great job on that pit stop. He's also driven very well in that intervening period. He's kept the pace, and it was enough to stay ahead of New Zealand. Now the question is, who has the better car over the long distance, and that won't be resolved until later on. The USA lead the race now because Jonathan Somerton has not yet been into the pits. The United States leads, Switzerland in second place, and then the rest. Netherlands, I think, haven't been in either, so they'll be up to third.
But I think, again, for Team USA and for Switzerland, they really ought to consider making, in fact Switzerland has been in for a pit stop, so USA I think bring him in sooner than later. His last lap was a 38.0, and that's contrasting to the middle 1 minute 37s that we're seeing from Great Britain, from Germany and from New Zealand.
Here you are riding on board with Jonathan Somerton for Team USA, who drove to a great second place. This is a battle between Australia and Indonesia again. These two racing hard for position. Australia just about staying in front as the USA continues to lead. Hasn't yet come into the pits. May do this time around. Both Switzerland and Canada are in the pits, and most of the other front runners have come in. Look at this battle still going on with the three-way affair with France in there too, and Australia a bit slow there, has been passed by both Indonesia and France. Looked like Ian Dyke may well have had a problem.
Well, it could have been a big white knuckle ride for Alain de Michele, Jean-Carl Vernet coming into turn one, because there's not a lot of space when both drivers are looking for the same part of the racetrack, and Australia was the loser overall in that three-way battle.
So that one continues. That's for 13th place, and Indonesia now up into 13th position. France just tucked in behind, and Jean-Carl Vernet, who had that contact with Canada earlier on today, looking very, very racy, I have to say.
But he's going to learn a few lessons about the defensive position, because Alain de Michele is one of the more difficult competitors on the racetrack to overtake.
Interesting notice on our board saying warning flag for Team Indonesia. I wonder if that's to do with corner cutting, perhaps?
Well, there is an issue in turns 4 and 5. You're allowed to put all four wheels off the racetrack. Look at the battle.
Yeah, the lead battle, John, because they're lapping Pakistan, and look how New Zealand has closed right up to the back of Great Britain. I wondered for a moment if he would go for it, but look, it really has closed up this battle for the lead.
But if anybody is going to be late in the brakes, it is Team GBR's driver Robbie Kerr. He's always been somebody who's been capable of braking right at the last moment, and of course for Team New Zealand to try and go down the inside already well in the middle of the racetrack would have been very, very risky, to say the least. But look, again, under the rear wing, power boost from New Zealand, trying to get alongside. Can he get alongside GBR into turn one? He's side by side into the corner.
Oh, this is a great race for the lead. They're still side by side. Robbie Kerr gets sideways on the turns, and New Zealand through. New Zealand takes the lead, and that was a great pass by Johnny Reid.
Well, I mean, there you've seen proper motor racing, two drivers giving not a quarter, not an inch on the racetrack. It was the run off turn 14. Johnny Reid used power boost to full effect. He got alongside, he got on the inside. Now, Robbie Kerr and Team GBR were able to run alongside in the first part of turn 1, but when they transferred into turn 2, he was on the dirty part of the racetrack. He started the slide, and that gave Johnny Reid the corner fairly easily.
Oh, Johnny Reid will have liked that move. Robbie Kerr just couldn't hold him, and you know, earlier in the season we sometimes wondered whether Johnny could be quite as aggressive, particularly as this man Nico Hülkenberg. Well, that was a good answer from Johnny. That was an aggressive, clean manoeuvre to take the lead of the race.
And that is as good as it gets. You're never going to see many more overtaking attempts that work any better than that. Now the gap has opened up, and the advantage that Johnny Reid has is, I believe, that in the overall distance of this race, as we look at Team USA finally coming in, and this is at lap 16, that again, going back to how the different cars are set up, that the Team New Zealand cars look so good all weekend. It didn't prove to be the single fastest car in a lap in qualifying, but it's probably the quickest car overall when it comes to the duration of a 40-lap race.
So Team Germany still in third place behind those two. USA now, of course, made their pit stop, so we'll see where they come out. There is Team USA just heading down the pit. That's been a great stop by USA. They've got the USA out ahead of Germany.
Well, that is pretty sensational. Again, there was a benefit to stay out, particularly if you're in the lead, clear air, run your own laps, do your own thing. And Jonathan Somerton and the Team USA team have got him in, but more importantly, got him out ahead of Team Germany, and this is going to be difficult for Nico Hülkenberg, because he didn't see how strong Jonathan Somerton was in Mexico when he chased Oliver Jarvis all the way to the checkered flag.
There is a problem for Australia. That car's been sitting there quite a while, John. I've been looking down in pit lane. He's been there ages. And I don't know what the problem is, but Ian Dyke is effectively out of the running now.
Well, they're all looking inside the cockpit, wondering what that problem is as we look now at Germany. And you've got the Netherlands car directly behind. But what a great stop from Team USA to put themselves ahead of Germany.
Pakistan, by the way, hasn't made his pit stop yet, so he's actually running 5th. Is Nur Ali currently. They're going to wait for their pit stop. Australia finally on his way, but he's lost a lap in that. This was the move.
Classic move. Robbie Kerr generously didn't try to block. He tried to go the long way around. He allowed Johnny Reid to get up the inside. That's the line that I think is the quickest line to this point. Then you sweep out. Of course, Robbie Kerr out to the left, out of camera side, and sliding and scrabbling for grip.
Johnny Reid certainly chose his moment, didn't he? Used the power boost to do that as well. Now Malaysia's been off again. Let's see what happened. Just ran wide and rejoined, but obviously lost some places there. So it's been a tough afternoon so far for Alex Young.
Certainly it's been typically untypical from Alex Young, one of the neatest drivers, one of the most intelligent drivers in the field, but it's gone wrong from early in the race, and I suspect he is paying the penalty from having too little grip on the rear, from running too little rear wing.
And Germany still not showing the sort of pace that we normally expect to see, because the right behind them is the Netherlands, and this is for 4th position, Renger van der Zande, his first ever feature race for Team Netherlands, the youngster who raced against Nico Hulkenberg in last year's German Formula 3 series. In fact, van der Zande beat him in the rookie points. Neither of them was rookie champion, but van der Zande finished just ahead of him in the points in that part of the series, so they know each other pretty well. That's going to be a fascinating one for the remainder of this race.
Well, there's something not right with the German car, because clearly the pace that we've seen from them in this second half of the series has been just outstanding, and here we're having what looks to me like a slight struggle for Nico Hulkenberg. Renger van der Zande right, really prepared to pounce, and coming down the straight, if he's got any power boost left, I'm sure he will use it.
Let's quickly run you through the top 10 now that everybody has made their pit stop. It's New Zealand leading, Great Britain in 2nd, USA gaining on the pit stops to 3rd, Germany 4th, Netherlands 5th, India runs 6th, Ireland up to 7th place. So Ireland on for their best result of the season if they can keep going there. Canada, who started at the back and then had problems earlier on, they're up to 8th position for Team Canada, 9th place for Italy, and 10th now will be Indonesia as Pakistan make their pit stop.
So Ireland following India down into turn 12, and that's really a transformation in the performance for Team Ireland here in the feature race. As again, Team Australia being in the pits, out of the pits, back in, and now once again returning the problem. We're not clear what that particular problem is, but clearly it is having a significant effect on what Australia can do. Switzerland make their way past.
Now poor old Switzerland, I don't know what happened to them, John, because they were in that lead group, weren't they? But they're right down in 17th.
Well, it signalled that they had a pit stop when he was running directly behind Team USA, and couldn't quite work out how they'd had a pit stop but still running in 2nd place. So he's either had to come into the pits much earlier than we, and we didn't capture that, or certainly running right now down in 15th place.
Well, that's disappointing, because Sebastian Buemi, I thought, could be a potential podium finisher. He's had the pace all weekend, but obviously it's gone wrong for Team Switzerland, and that's gonna hurt them quite a lot. They're currently 6th in the points, and they're not going to gain much from there. And in fact, I think we can hear a bit of news about what happened to Switzerland. Let's get down and hear from Simon Hill in pit lane.
Yeah, when Sebastian Buemi's car was put up on jacks, as they dropped the car back down again, the right rear tyre basically wasn't attached properly, so he went to go, and it sounded like initially that maybe a drive shaft had gone, because it was making a lot of noise and not going anywhere. But when they picked it back up, they just rebolted the wheel on, and away they went. The other significant thing that I noticed during the stops is that most of the teams put brand new tyres on, the exceptions being New Zealand and Germany of the front runners, who already started on brand new tyres and went to a pre-used set. And one of the race engineers down here I was talking to said it could be a bad decision. We reckon they could go off a bit too quick, the new tyres, which is why perhaps Johnny Reid pulled away. So it'll be very interesting to see if that gap comes back now.
Thanks very much, Simon. Good information, and New Zealand at the moment still with a 2.9 second advantage over Great Britain. So what's...
And Ireland has just found a way past India, and Ireland now up to 6th place, having overtaken the rain. Carthagena coming back into turn 1, and he wasn't far enough up to put himself into position. So a really good opportunity for Ireland to make up for the loss of points, particularly back in Durban, where they were in position to score good points, and it all went wrong for them in the feature race.
Oh, this is so good to see Team Ireland up where they should be. This is more like it. Richard Lyons is a very capable driver, as we all know, and now he's up to 6th place in a car that's been completely rebuilt overnight.
Yes, at the main straight into turn 12, good slipstream, maybe some power boost, and Richard Lyons got his car ahead of Team India, and Narain Karthikeyan will be kicking himself for letting it look quite so easy as it did.
So, Team Ireland are back. You know, it was here in Shanghai where they had a great result last year, John, and then it all went wrong in the feature race. They had a rollover, Michael Devaney. They never seem to come back since then, and now, having rebuilt that car around the spare tub, suddenly they're on form, on fire, and Richard Lyons now up to 6th. I wonder if he can do anything about an 8-second gap, it has to be said, to the next car, which is the Netherlands.
Well, I'll let you into a secret. Team Ireland decided they wanted some performance. They put a chili pod in his overalls, and whatever it is, it's certainly having a good effect.
This is for position 2. India under pressure now from Canada. Canada going for 7th place. Sean McIntosh with a move. Can he hold it down the inside? Yes, he can. And Narain Karthikeyan could do nothing about it. India's dropped another position.
Remember, the India car took a major blow to the left side of the bodywork. You can see when we get that side on view, not the right hand side, it's the left hand side. It may well have also done something to the suspension. It was a fairly hefty dig that South Africa gave that car on the opening lap of this feature race.
And of course on that long straight, John, surely it's going to affect the aerodynamics and the straight line speed of the car.
It will have a bearing because as part of the air system, the radiator bleeds air out through that part of the bodywork. Narain Karthikeyan carrying an injured car, and he's doing the best he can, but 2 cars overtaken in 2 consecutive laps.
Oh, it's the end of a frustrating weekend for Ian Dyken for Team Australia. It's a shame because he made great progress in those first couple of laps and they would have been well pleased with that, but ultimately it's not to be. They're going to have to pack up from this one and hope Brands Hatch brings them better things to finish the year. Their great rivals, New Zealand, are in much better shape. Look, the gap's opened up to 3.5 seconds now between Johnny Reid and Robbie Kerr.
Yes, more importantly, I would say, is the gap between 2nd and 3rd place, and showing just over a second as they came across start-finish line at the end of 20 laps. It looks slightly longer when you get that very long camera view as you come out of 10 and 11. But of course, Jonathan Somerton, who sits so low in the Team USA car, he does gain a slight aerodynamic advantage in being so low in the car. He also gains slightly in terms of engine horsepower because he's getting a lot more of that clean air going into the air intakes to the engine than Robbie Kerr does.
Yeah, and Team USA looking fast again. Let's just take another look at Canada passing India.
Pretty forward, straight to textbook stuff, and again not any sign of defence or aggressive moves to try and block.
And now Italy's done the same thing.
India clearly has got a problem, and 3 consecutive laps at the same part of the racetrack. It may well be that the damage to that part of the bodywork on the left-hand side of the car is causing the car to be exceptionally draggy. In other words, the efficiency of the bodywork has been lost due to that contact with the left side south pod.
Yeah, and he's going to have to try and tuck in behind the Italian car if he's going to protect his 10th place or 9th place from Indonesia, who's next in that queue. Now, you're watching China. They're 13th currently, so a little outside the point. Malaysia's running 14th. This was a very straightforward manoeuvre for Tocacello.
Yeah, and Narain Karthikeyan, he actually bumps into the back of the India car just to say, well, get a move on. I'll let you go past, then don't slow down on me in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, look
There's
at this.
the bump. This is the camera angle. It's literally mounted at the bottom of the front wing, and there you saw the jolt. And fortunately that camera is also undamaged.
Yeah, that was a great shot right into the rear tyre, almost with the camera of Team India. But Great Britain in second, under a little bit of threat from the United States in third. And once again, it's Great Britain versus the United States, but this time for second, not for the victory that was what was going on in Mexico a few weeks ago. But still, you have to say well done to Jonathan Somerton. His parents actually are Brits. He comes from Blackpool. He was born in Blackpool, but all his life has been spent in the United States. All his racing until now has been in the United States. He actually started with, I think, Derek Daly's racing school out there in the States. That's what got him going in car racing after a successful karting career. And now he's showing well on the international stage.
Well, he's been certainly a star in my eyes, particularly when he saw him in South Africa. And there you see how much he's closed down on. That's only a fraction of a second, but it is all significant. But what is most significant to me is after 22 laps, on the last couple of laps, we've seen Johnny Reid lapping consistently 1:37s, the high 1:37s, and everybody else in second, third, fourth place are just outside that, running 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second slower. The gap between first and second is now up to 4.5 seconds. and second to third is 1.1 seconds. But it seems to me as that Team USA is capable of holding position, but they're not really in a position to do much more to run down that second gap.
This was a moment ago. Switzerland passed Malaysia. That was down into the hairpin, and Sebastian Buemi trying to make up for that poor pit stop. He's now into 14th, and Malaysia back to 15th.
So Johnny Reid serenely goes on his way as he comes round turn 10 into turn 11, and the gap 4.4 seconds.
Just a quick point though, let's not forget that New Zealand did have that panic, John, before he started this race. That gearbox, a couple of gearbox bolts sheared, so that's still going to be a worry for New Zealand.
You'll be driving with a car you know that there's a potential fault with. You'll be feeling every little thing that goes on in a racing car. When you know there's a potential problem there, you'll be expecting it to come. The team have done a great job to get that car out into the race, and I suspect that they've done sufficiently good a repair. If it's going to go, we'll know all about it.
Now Indonesia's caught India. We know India's struggling on the straight here. Indonesia's using its last power boost opportunity. Ananda Mikkola, these two know each other well. Is it going to be a clean run down to the hairpin here? Mikkola's going to go for it. Is he down the inside? He is going to make the move. He's a bit overshot. Oh, and India loses another place. France! Now France is going to get past Indonesia.
What a great bit of opportunistic driving, and look at Jean-Carl Vernet, very aggressive, making sure that Ananda Mikkola does not get the chance to come back, forcing Mikkola very wide. Now, we know that Ananda Mikkola is one of the toughest cars on the racetrack to overtake. Now coming back, trying to get alongside Team France, but hasn't got the position, and France has moved up one more position from 10th to 9th.
So J.K. Vernet has moved up. He's now into 9th place, starting from the back, and both the cars that started right at the back, that was Canada and France who had the contact earlier, now both in the top 10. Well done to both drivers. 7th for Canada, and now it's 9th place for Team France. And well, Indonesia team ruining the fact that they might have gained another place there. Well, France was a touch wide. Vernet is certainly pushing it to the limit, and Ananda Mikkola would quite like to get back at him on this lap.
Well, let's see what happens, whether Ananda Mikkola can get back into contact. Not so much of this part of the racetrack. He needs to get in position coming out of this corner. They're going into turn 9, then feed your way through turn 10 progressively, and just pick up speed all the way around. But I think France is in a situation where really they are able to control it. And for India, it's been another disappointment. Let's look again and see this pass. Now, what Naren Karthikeyan was doing, ordinarily he is outstanding in the brakes, but he just simply outbraked himself. And then the opportunistic pass by France, really shutting the door aggressively as Indonesia getting the lock on as they... Oh, well, there you see what's happened. That's fact. Yeah, it is Indonesia with France. Now watch France shutting the door as they come out.
Yeah, that was aggressive, but he was in the right place at the right time, and poor old India's lost another one. That's the Czech Republic going past.
I think we're going to see India going into the pits very, very shortly, because it's just been all downhill since the restart of this second safety car deployment. There's not very much more Ananda Mikkola, Naren Karthikeyan is capable of doing, but he's stayed out, he's still running. He comes across the start-finish line, and India, where are they now? Down to 12th position.
So China's still running just in behind India, so that could be the next pass to watch out for as Team China. Oh, India sliding through turn 1, and that allows China to get close to the back of the Indian car once again, but China has to watch out because he's got the very rapid Swiss car behind him. We know Switzerland's capable of running up front.
Yes, they will do, and Sebastian Buemi is again a race driver he knows what racing's all about. So running on board.
Somebody's got off at 7. There's a yellow flag at turn 7, and somebody's got off down there, so I'm not sure who that was, but we'll keep an eye on this. It's USA! Would you believe it? From 3rd position, Team USA is off. Has it broken, or has he got off?
I suspect that he got it wrong through turns 4 and 5, and he rode the curb. Now watch, there's Germany. Now what happened there? Well, we just saw the tail end of it. I suspect coming out of turn 5, he rode the curbs too aggressively, and suddenly the car spun, but he's gone along. There he is over the curb. Watch what happens here. This is where the cause of the back end steps, and he probably put the wheel on the gravel on the very outside of that curb, and that's just simply a self-induced injury by a young driver who was driving the wheels off his car. Jonathan Somerton sits in the car. Safety car once again has been deployed. 3rd deployment of the afternoon.
So this will close them all up again, won't it? Give a new opportunity perhaps for Great Britain to chase New Zealand. Germany up there as well, and it's moved them up. Germany's now up to 3rd, of course, but you have to feel for Jonathan Somerton because he was driving a superb race here today. But you know, Team USA have such promise with this young lad. He has made the odd mistake. He made a bit of a mistake in Durban, but he's a guy they can work with the future.
Oh yes, and I think Jonathan Somerton could be a very significant part of the future plans for Team USA. He's shown he's got natural speed. He is again somebody who is a racer, not just a racing driver, and that was illustrated by the fact that he made an error, but he made the error because he was pushing hard. You can forgive a racing driver for doing that because that's what they're there to do. It's when you get some drivers who go out and drive around and really couldn't drive sheep to market that you think, well, why did he even think about bothering?
Well, I think there's a lot of effort could go into Jonathan Somerton if they can get him a good European summer program somewhere, and then he could be a major threat for next year's title, indeed, perhaps for Team USA. So we've got the safety car out once again, but we're a bit further into the race now. There are only 15 laps to go. All the pit stops have been made, of course, but this will open the door for a few more opportunistic moves, perhaps, in the latter stages of the race. You're looking at fastest laps at the moment. Currently, fastest lap is to Team New Zealand. Fastest lap earlier on, of course, was from the sprint race, so I think the extra point will go to New Zealand. Of course, that's what he's got to do, is to try and get as many points as possible. Let's get down to the pit lane once again with Lee McKenzie.
Rick, you're just watching your car being towed away. It had all been going so well up until that point.
It was. We were doing terrific. Our lap times were improving. You know, this is motor racing. You know, you have to expect the unexpected, so it happens.
You mentioned earlier that Jonathan is only 18. He's relatively inexperienced. Do you think that counts for that?
No, I think Jonathan's proved his mettle. You know, I don't think so. I think it's just motor racing.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
You bet.
Well, another look at the mistake there. As you say, probably ran that right rear wheel over the curb onto the grass. It's unfortunate because quite a few people have done that this weekend and actually haven't ended up spinning.
That's the first car we've seen at that part of the racetrack all weekend, as you mentioned, and of course there was always going to be an issue with overuse of the curbs at that part of the racetrack. Drivers had been warned not to be over-aggressive.
So they have to be careful. Now they've got the job of trying to get this restart. Let's take a look at Team Ireland. Ireland have a great shout. They're now up to 5th place, John. 5th position, I'll tell you. This is such a change for Team Ireland. One of the hardest working, best presented teams in A1GP. And at last, all their work has come good. These guys, as I mentioned earlier, had 3 hours sleep last night thanks to the work they did. India's in, by the way, and it is that side pod that they're looking to change.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of time to get that removed because there's a lot of damage around the clips that hold that bodywork, carbon fibre bodywork to the main carbon fibre chassis. But just thinking about Team Ireland, I mean, they were actually in position to get very good points in Durban, and just towards the end of the race, Richard Lyons made an error, clipped the wall, broke a wheel, and that was it all over. Put his hands up and said, sorry guys. Was in floods of tears afterwards, I understand. And of course then in Mexico it didn't happen at all. Further damage there to the underfloor of the car, that they're not going to replace. Hopefully by doing so they'll gain something, but of course he's losing a lot of time. And with the new bodywork, with damaged locations, having trouble getting those parts reattached to the main chassis.
Yeah, it's a great pity for India because they were on for potentially their best results. But, you know, don't discount India from even a potential victory next time out. We've seen how fast Narain Karthikeyan can be at Brands Hatch, John, in the past in British Championships, and he really loves that circuit. So I think India will be well on the pace at the final round.
I have no doubt that India will be highly competitive at Brands Hatch, and certainly one of the most spectacular packages with Team India and Narain Karthikeyan. Always worth a watch. And so many opportunities at Brands Hatch, such a natural venue with the amphitheatre of the Indy circuit, of course, then going out to the back of the circuit, the Grand Prix circuit, still pretty much in its original configuration with some considerations to modern day safety requirements, but still a wonderful racetrack.
Yeah, great place to watch. Now the lights are out on the safety car, it's coming back in. Can Robbie Kerr return the compliment to Johnny Reid and re-challenge for the lead? There's no doubt that the Black Beauty's been looking faster in this latter part of the race. They've had a great race setup all weekend. They were disappointed to lose pole, but we're going to have to see just what can happen here and whether Johnny Reid is going to make the restart. He's on it straight away. He's gone for it early, and everyone else up behind might get caught out by this.
Well, I think they anticipated it pretty much, but Johnny Reid certainly took full advantage coming into turn 12. Of course, remember, nobody can overtake until they go across the start-finish line, and he did actually slightly take advantage of that, and Team GBR really now under pressure once again as they come up into turn 1. This time it's GBR on the inside, Germany on the outside.
Germany trying to make it all the way around the outside. All this is a brave attempt from Hulkenberg, but surely he's not going to make that work, and he's got to be careful because the Netherlands is right in there too, so he tucks back in, doesn't want to lose third place, but another challenge for Team Great Britain, which Robbie Kerr this time has fended off. Remember, Germany on target to win the title here. They're running third. They only need to finish 9th to wrap up the A1 Championship, but he's still going to watch out for Renger van der Zande there for Team Netherlands.
Indeed, but just watching Robbie Kerr coming through turns 4 and 5, the car didn't look quite as good there. You see it again coming through turn 7 and into turn 8 out onto this shorter back straight. So clearly the balance of the Team GBR car not as good, certainly as New Zealand leading the race, and I think that Germany's probably got a slight advantage over Team GBR at this point.
Big gap back between France and the Czech Republic. There was something going on as they all headed down to that hairpin for the restart. There was a lot of bunching, and it's meant that we've got a couple of different groups now. China in that second group, they're running in 11th place, I think, still. Behind them we've now got Malaysia, the Swiss car still in there. Look at Johnny Reid really opening up the advantage for Team New Zealand, but Kerr has enough over Hulkenberg not to be under threat this time. Ireland playing a part now, joining in the fun and games. There is Richard Lyons, and he's now hopefully going to have a chance to challenge for 4th position.
And the cars in that group running behind Germany. Oh, and Switzerland dives down the inside, takes position and contact with Indonesia.
And China's on the grass. China, John, passed by 3 cars as Frankie Cheng ended up on the grass.
Well, this is the second group of cars. They seem to miss the restart, and they really got bunched up together, and they're making a great spectacle.
The crowd trying to see what's going on here, and they see that their man has dropped down. What's happened? They say, well, he did overshoot the hairpin. That's what went wrong. Meanwhile, Lebanon in a battle with Brazil here, which is an interesting one. And Alan Coder.
Well, almost as a Brazilian Lebanese against a Brazilian Brazilian.
Exactly, I was just thinking that. Alan Coder, who's been brought up, spent all his life in Brazil, although he's of Lebanese heritage. He's now racing against a very experienced, very rapid Brazilian driver in Vitor Meira. So that's a fun one to watch. Portugal a bit further up, João Urbano. He's doing all right on his debut, had a bit of a problem earlier on. He's now running in 14th. This has all allowed South Africa to move back up the order a little bit. They had that damaged wing early on. They're now into 13th place.
Watch Sebastian Buemi getting the slipstream off the Czech Republic. Pulls up, can he get alongside? No, he decides he's not going to do it here. His strength is probably going to be getting a good run out of turn 11 and trying to put himself into position to pass Czech Republic as they go down into that hairpin at turn 12. Czech Republic runs quite high coming out of turn 10. Switzerland stays much lower. Who will gain the advantage? Well, we'll see as they get down to the end of the straight. Currently Switzerland getting closer to the rear of the Czech Republic.
This is for 9th place. This is for a points paying position. Philippe Salaquada driving for the Czech Republic this weekend. Again, there's more battles further back. Salaquada very defensive into the hairpin. He's doing fine. He's much less experienced than some. China trying to come back down the inside. Can he make it? Oh, yes he can. Gets back past Lebanon.
Well, that was a pretty tense battle coming into turn 12. They were side by side and not blinking as to see. Look again. Look at Lebanon one way, back again the other way as they come into turn 14. And this is motor racing now, you cannot believe. And these are for positions so far under the points you can't even count about it.
Look how close he is to the back of the Chinese car, and Brazil's going to make it a 3-way fight into the first corner. Lebanon really showing great form here this weekend. Alan Coder getting more used to the car. He's snipped up the inside. Oh, well done. Lebanon retakes the place.
Stunning bit of motor racing from Alan Coder to do what he did, putting China under great pressure into turn 1. I thought China had that corner all sewn up, but Frankie Cheng just ran that little bit wide, allowed Lebanon to get through on the inside. Vitor Meira for Brazil was thinking, which side am I going to go? Are these two cars going to take each other off? No, they didn't. But look, China coming straight back through turn 6 and the little incline down into turn 7. Nothing you're going to do in 7. Not much you can do in 8. You can prepare for a run up into turn 9, but none of these 3 cars really are close enough.
Great to see Lebanon really in the middle of a scrap and fighting one way then the other, and there's a lot of hope in the team that Alan Coder could be the man for the future. Invest a bit more time and money in him. He's certainly improved a lot in his few outings for the team this year.
Well, China made an error going into turn 9. It's given Brazil the opportunity to try and again pick up the slipstream. Lebanon pulled away fractionally as they come onto this long straight.
So Switzerland now in a comfortable 9th place, that is, ahead of the Czech Republic, then still followed by Indonesia. Now Indonesia, frustratingly for them, just outside the points. Mikola will try and address that. Here we are again with Lebanon, China and Brazil. and this time there isn't a move from China. He wasn't close enough, and we're on board now with Vitor Meira, a man who's more used to going around the ovals in the United States in recent years, but he's got a lot of road racing experience from Brazil and from Europe as well. Hopefully he's enjoying the scrap. He's used to running a bit further up the grid though.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing running in high-speed ovals, you sit there flat out, floor to the pedal to the metal, as they say, but here on a proper racetrack, and believe me, this Shanghai racetrack is an outstanding racetrack for any kind of motor car, and no doubt he's rediscovering why he wanted to be a racing driver.
10 laps to go, or 13 minutes depending which comes first, so it's going to be close to being a timed race rather than a lap distance race, and that's of course because we've had the safety car out several times.
Vitor Meira once again gathers breath as that battle between China and just ahead, China looking to see whether they can get back at that battle that they've been enjoying over the last few laps with Lebanon.
Well, it's a good fun race this, all the way through the field. There's something going on, and national honour at stake wherever you want to care to look. Lebanon are not in the points yet, but still racing hard, and that's what we like to see. Now, we mentioned South Africa had moved up after their initial problem. Now they're really pressurising Malaysia here. Malaysia currently running in 12th place, but Alan van der Merwe with a shot here, perhaps getting past, both on the power boost. Malaysia's going to take the inside, right, says van der Merwe. I'm going to go down the outside, see what you can do about it. Oh, who's it going to be? Malaysia, just hold on.
You can't go around the outside in turn 12, but you can try to make the switch back on the exit out of it up into turn 14. But Alex Young once again uses that skill, that brain that he's got to put his car on the part of the racetrack. And Alan van der Merwe for South Africa really wants. Van der Merwe's got the speed again out of turn 14. Almost touches the left rear as he comes up, gets alongside into turn 1.
This is great stuff, but can he carry the speed into turn 1? Malaysia clever. He carries the speed himself and forces van der Merwe around the outside. Can't do that. Now he's going to try and switch back. This is great racing between very experienced, clever drivers, and it's wonderful to watch. Alex Young just defends his position from Alan van der Merwe, and now they've got the youngster João Urbano of Portugal joining in.
Well, he's saying, this is a lot of fun. I enjoy this. I want a piece of the action, and he'll be there to pick up the pieces if Malaysia or South Africa make any contact at all. And right now, of the three cars, you have to think that João Urbano in Portuguese car is the quickest of the three.
What a race. Wherever you look, there's something going on. Meanwhile, let me just tell you that New Zealand continues to lead by 1.4 seconds over Great Britain, who's eased away a similar gap back to Germany. So that's why we're not looking at the top three. They're separated each by about a second. Netherlands is running fourth, and they're about a second and a half ahead of Ireland. There you are, there are the leaders. That gives you an idea. They're a little bit spaced out now. 1, 2, 3 Germany, 4 Netherlands, 5 Ireland, then 6 Canada, 7 Italy. They're quite close, those two. And then behind them France, who, as we know, pretty aggressive. Then Switzerland, and then you've got that little gap back to the Czech Republic, still in 10th place. The final point at the moment, still heading towards Philippe Salaquada. And remember, poor old Thomas Enger not able to be here this weekend. He had a nasty accident in a sports car race a few weeks ago, broke his elbow, had some other injuries as well. He won here last year, did Thomas Enger. We miss him, we wish him well, but his young replacement's not doing a bad job at the moment in 10th place.
Indeed he is. Just to show you how much dominance New Zealand are really enjoying, on the 32nd lap, Team New Zealand have recorded the fastest race lap in this race. There's a drive-through penalty for Team Indonesia. Now we don't know what that was for, but clearly, so we see the slow 40 miles per hour, 60 kilometers per hour. But going back to New Zealand, fastest lap in the sprint race, 36.033. Fastest lap in the feature race, 9/10 of a second slower. And Johnny Reid and Team New Zealand really appear to me, outside of anything going wrong in the closing laps, where in respect to the gearbox problem they had going to the grid, have been the dominant nation. In spite of not getting pole position, but they've had the best car overall. Look at the work that Nico Hülkenberg is doing on the steering wheel to keep the back of his car in control.
David Sears and Rob Creswell watching that as well, and pointing out that perhaps everything's not quite ideal for them this time, but nonetheless they're still on for a top result, and a result that will win Germany the A1GP World Cup of Motorsport. And that really is what Nico Hülkenberg could be thinking about now, rather than necessarily a risky manoeuvre to try and take second, even if he could get close enough to Great Britain, which at the moment doesn't look particularly likely. He's still got Netherlands behind him, keeping him honest, in 4th place. I am impressed with Renger van der Zander's first ever feature race, John. He's stayed out of trouble, he's raced hard, and he's on for a 4th position here for the Dutch team.
Well, I've always enjoyed watching Renger van der Zander in the car. Principally it's been in rookie sessions, but he's just got a very happy, cheerful way he goes about his motor racing, but he's also establishing that he is capable of matching Jeroen Bleekemolen, who's been the driver in the car effectively since the first round of the second series in the Netherlands. So I think an opportunity for Render van der Zenger to cement a permanent seat with this team, for this nation, for the third series of A1GP.
You'll see in the top left of our screen that from a lap counter we've gone to a time counter, because it does look as though this race will be completed at its limit of 69 minutes plus a lap rather than the full race distance, and that's as we've seen the safety car out on numerous occasions. Race engineer Chris Gaughan for Team New Zealand heading for another victory quite possibly here, but remember that gearbox worry, those bolts that were changed on the grid, that's still a cause for concern, and there are still, as you see, just under 8 minutes to go.
Yes, you can see the tension in the face of Chris Gaughan. Clearly he's aware that the repair that was carried out was not ideal, because to do so would have meant the car would not have made it to the grid. So they've done the best they can. It currently has been sufficiently good, and hopefully that's how it will stay. And the advantage over Team GBR is 2.1 seconds. Germany running a further 1.1 seconds behind Team GBR, but the top 5 in fact are covered by 7.5 seconds.
It is pretty close, courtesy of a relatively recent safety car period. And there you can see that Team Italy running in 7th place. A little bit of pressure coming on from France right behind them. And then it's still Switzerland 9th, Czech Republic 10th, Malaysia 11th, followed by South Africa. We're on board the New Zealand car. Let's watch Johnny Reid's style once again.
And just watch the throttle pedal. That's the graph you're seeing, the green graph at the top of that scroll going through, and indicates the way he's progressive on the throttle. You must always use the throttle judiciously. It's not a switch that you turn off and on.
No, it's good to watch, and now he's on a little straight section, then off. He uses the left foot on the brakes. Watch his braking style as well. He tends to get hard on the brake with the left foot initially, then eases off the brake.
That's the sign of a racing driver who knows how to be a racing driver. You don't murder the brakes and keep your foot on it. You hit it hard, then you just modulate the amount of pressure that you need to take the car into the corner at the speed that you judge.
Yeah, it's very interesting watching that red trace for the brake pedal there. You won't see it now for a little while because he's coming onto the straight. It's all about throttle here, and it's a long time on full throttle.
Well, it takes a long time also for him to get to full throttle, and that's because the exit of turn 10 into turn 11 is quite difficult to get the power down. So really you're holding back, and then only midway through that long corner onto the back straight can you get full throttle.
Now he's going to brake at maximum downforce, about 2,500 pounds of downforce on the car at 175 miles an hour, and it takes a lot of braking effort. In fact, he really has to push that pedal very hard and then ease off it again as the car slows down and the downforce comes off.
And again, watching the way that Johnny Reid operates the brake pedal with the left foot. Not everybody here today will be a left foot braker. It's the younger drivers, particularly those that have come through karting, that do it naturally. I spoke to Narain Karthikeyan. He had to learn how to left foot brake. He now left foot brakes all the time. But if you've got to be conscious about doing it, then just stick to braking with your right foot.
So that was a masterclass from Johnny Reid there of New Zealand. Great fun to watch, and another opportunity to see just how much thought and effort goes into the driving of these cars. But still a battle for second place potentially between Great Britain and Germany. Actually, Germany's dropped back a bit over the last lap. 4th place for Netherlands, and then in 5th place Ireland. 6th place for Canada. Still a great run this from Sean McIntosh for Team Canada, and what a boost it will be to the team, John. I mean, they've had a bit of a tough time recently, haven't they? And Sean McIntosh himself, he came into the team, didn't perform quite as well as they had hoped, perhaps as he hoped, but this is more the Sean McIntosh we saw last year.
Yes, I mean, he's been out of the car for the best part of 9 months. It is no easy job to step back into a car that you left that length of time ago. He's gone off and driven different forms of single-seater racing with different levels of downforce, braking, horsepower, and the adaptation or the readaptation back into an A1GP car. It does take time. There's not a great deal of running over a weekend, particularly if you're not considered a rookie, and Sean McIntosh is not a rookie by any means.
No, he's not. Richard Lyons we're looking at here, of course, for Team Ireland as well. An excellent 5th place. Look at the smiles. Let's just hope it stays that way. John Booth there, by the way, who's guesting as race engineer for the weekend. Gary Anderson not here. John Booth, of course, runs a very, very successful team himself in Formula 3, and they've enjoyed having his input, and I'm sure that part of that was important. P1 for Team New Zealand. And there's only 4 minutes plus a lap to go. That's what the T4 plus 1 meant. 4 minutes plus a lap.
So Johnny Reid comes through turn 2 and a little lock up as he Gets to the exit of that corner, then drops down the gap up again to 2.5 seconds. He put in a fairly quick lap 1 lap ago. Now it's being matched by Team GBR.
Pakistan off, John.
Hunter-Reay, so his race is over. Hunter-Reay's yellow flag at turn 9, and that's a fairly major spin for Hunter-Reay. Now, how did he get it all wrong down there? We need to see the head-on shot. We got the end of that spin for Hunter-Reay. So he gets the car, he rotates the car, and that was done. Actually, it was coming out of turn 6. So he probably lost the back of the car and it rotated. We did notice that in practice, and particularly in qualifying, some of those throttle and brake races that we've enjoyed with Team New Zealand, the driving style, the contrast of driving style between Hunter-Reay for Pakistan and that of Johnny Reid, you couldn't have a more clear display of how to do it and how you need to change to follow the style of Team New Zealand.
Well, he has managed to get going once again. That was a little bit worrying with everyone else joining, coming past him at the same time, but it seemed to be okay. South Africa nips past, still in 12th place. Behind South Africa, Portugal running 13th, and Lebanon now 14th, but still ahead of China in 15th. So Portugal did take a little bit they were in that spot anyway. Indonesia, after their drive-through penalty, of course, have dropped down to 16th. India, after changing the side pod on the car, well, they're running down in 17th place. Switzerland closes right up to France, and this is for position.
And Switzerland, a lap ago, had the single fastest sector time in Sector 1. So Sebastian Buemi, in spite of that setback when he lost so much time on his pit stop, is clearly keen to do the best job he can for his nation. And running down Jean-Charles Vernet as they come across start-finish line. This is at the end of 37 laps. Looks to go up the inside. And that was a very audacious swing in to try and put his car on the inside. Put his car in the mirror of the French car. Try to distract and unsettle Jean-Charles Vernet.
This is good stuff from Switzerland, though, isn't it? Sebastian Buemi, he had a very long pit stop, as we heard from Simon earlier, but it hasn't seemed to deter him, and it's nice to see a driver get his head down once he's had a problem like that and just try and pick off the places. He's going to be rewarded, hopefully, with at least 2 points, but if he can get past this car, then it'll be an extra point gain. Now, there's some concern still down there at New Zealand, is there?
Yes, it looks to me as if there's a bit of agitation. Well, that was maybe just in preparation for the car coming in. We've got 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining. So there's a lot of action going down on that New Zealand pit wall. We don't see anything with the car, but we've just got coming up to a minute of this race remaining. And running behind in second place, Team GBR. They're 2.2 seconds behind. There you can see the gap. Further behind Germany in third place. Germany, who had been using power boost. Netherlands is now using power boost. So this race for the top 3 positions on the podium may well still be a surprise to us all.
Here comes Switzerland, still attacking France. Is he going to go for it down the inside? Oh, France makes the mistake under braking that Buemi was looking for, but he may still be able to cut back on the outside.
And he's repeated the treatment he gave to Indonesia earlier in the race.
That was good stuff from Vernet, who'd almost got himself into trouble, but he was still able to claim the place back, and Buemi will be frustrated by that.
He's going to have another pop. He's a little bit too far behind. Coming up into turn 1, but this battle between France and Switzerland in the closing moments, literally, it's almost now closing seconds of this race, is going on with the same level of intensity as it ever has.
So there's a lap and a bit to do now because the clock is ticking away, and once it goes to 0, there's still 1 more lap to run for New Zealand. Every moment is a worry. That was a 1:38 last time around from New Zealand, and a slight loss of time to Great Britain, but they still have a pretty good margin of 1.5 seconds. So New Zealand still race leader, Great Britain still in second place, Germany in third position.
And look at this battle. Look, Sebastian Buemi sliding, almost dirt tracking the Swiss car around, having taken that position momentarily, only for Jean-Charles Vernet once again very intelligently to take advantage of an error. We assumed he'd lost the place quite simply because under braking he got sideways, and there he was back ahead of Switzerland.
So race leader is New Zealand now. The clock has stopped. That means when he comes around this time, he'll go on to the final lap. It has been staying slightly, so it's 69 minutes plus the lap. So we'll expect to see the last lap board being given to Johnny Reid of no, it is in fact the checkered flag. Straight off, the checkered flag comes out, and Johnny Reid wins for New Zealand in Shanghai. Second place goes to Great Britain, and third place and the title goes to Germany. Nico Hülkenberg has done enough to win the A1GP World Cup of Motorsport, Team Netherlands finishes 4th, Ireland finished 5th.
Well, a fantastic result for Team Germany. Nico Hülkenberg has done the bulk of the driving, and there you see the obvious joy with the German team. And 3rd place, he's not going to be satisfied with that, but he came here to tie that championship up. Great drive from Johnny Reid to win, and consolidation for Robbie Kerr, Team GBR. He just didn't have the pace when it counted over the longer distance to challenge back, to get that position back from this car, Team New Zealand and Johnny Reid.